Hi everyone, this is Dr. Nitin Choda with Ignition Time. In my hands, I have an important announcement from the White House economic advisor, Larry Kudlow. Now, the interesting thing about this administration is that every single day, there's some different piece of information coming out of the administration. The president says something, the US Treasury Secretary says something else, the Senate Majority Leader says something else. It's almost like these administration officials don't actually talk to each other. It would be nice if they talk to each other, but this is important because this is an announcement from the White House economic advisor, Larry Kudlow. These are the individuals surrounding the president that actually make recommendations about policy, that actually give ideas and give suggestions that ultimately are listened to by the Senate Majority Leader and other members of the Senate. And then at the end of the day, this is going to be a joint collaboration, if you will. It's going to be a joint agreement between the House and the Senate, and then it's going to go to the president for signing. Now, I did do another training video just the other day about important words from the US Treasury Secretary about what could potentially be the end of the $600 a week unemployment booster, so you definitely want to check that out. But as far as the stimulus checks go, here's an important announcement from the White House economic advisor, and that's Larry Kudlow. And here's what he said. He said the second stimulus check would be smaller direct payments to be targeted towards lower income and jobless Americans. Now, this is important. Here's what he said. He said a further round of economic impact payments to Americans would focus on those who no longer had a job to return to, saying that the next pandemic relief package would be tighter. His exact words were tighter than previous efforts. Now, this was reported in the New York Times, it was reported by Reuters, and it was also reported on Fox News. In fact, the original story, I believe, was a Reuters story, which Fox News and which New York Times actually picked up. So I'll definitely link you to those links in the description below, so you definitely want to check those out. But basically, he said the kind of economic assistance, presumably he's referring to the next stimulus package, would probably be very carefully targeted. That's what Kudlow said, and he said this when he was asked about direct payments, economic impact stimulus payments, second stimulus check to US households, and he said it is not going to be across the board. Now, he said this to reporters at the White House, so I'm not able to find any video of this, but again, it was reported by Reuters, which is a reputable agency, and then it was picked up by Fox News and New York Times, and I will link you to those links in the description below. He said that the next round of direct payments would be less than $1,200, his words, and targeted towards people in lower income brackets and without jobs. The reasoning behind the more concentrated criteria is that the White House is hoping to keep the cost of an additional package down, that's what he said, with a figure of $1 trillion or less. This was what was reported. He said the key now is helping folks get back to work, and I've talked about the back to work proposal from Senator Rob Portman, and everybody from the US Treasury Secretary to the President have talked about trying to get individuals back to work, and I have done other videos on my channel asking where are the jobs. I mean, it sounds well and good, get back to work, but where are the jobs? And he said that we'll have some unemployment reforms. Now, that sounds pretty non-specific, but I would listen to what the US Treasury Secretary said, and I have covered that in another video on my channel, so I will link you to that video here in the corner of the screen right here. So you want to check out that video because that's an important video from the US Treasury Secretary. But he said we'll have some unemployment reforms, we'll have some re-employment bonuses, we will have some additional economic impact assistance in a targeted way. So he's talking about additional stimulus in a targeted way, and I have talked about this, and I do believe that help should go to individuals who need it the most. And this seems to be, as far as the administration is concerned, a step in the right direction, but we'll have to wait and see exactly what happens. And remember, whatever they do, they're not going to make everybody happy. There are going to be unhappy individuals at the end of this, no matter what. Larry Kudlow said, I think it's going to be a tighter bill. We cannot keep posting $3 trillion, $4 trillion every 3 or 4 months. He's talking about driving the country, deeper and deeper in debt. And I have done other videos where I talked about where your taxpayer dollars go, how the United States government spends its money. I've also talked about where all the money for this stimulus relief is coming from. So if you want to check that out, you can click on the link in the corner of this video, and you'll be surprised to know that this money, the stimulus package money, which was appropriated by Congress in March with the CARES Act, which was passed by the Senate and signed into law by the President, is actually borrowed money. It's money that the Fed is literally generating out of thin air. So this money will have to be paid back back at some point in time by future taxpayers. So the Trump administration and lawmakers are expected to engage in negotiations aimed at producing a bill for President Trump to sign. The Senate returns after recess in the third week of July, and as you know, under the CARES Act, there was a $1,200 payment for each adult with an adjusted gross income of up to $75,000, and the threshold for married couples was $150,000, and they were eligible for $2,400 combined and $500 per child. That was the CARES Act. Now, Senator Mitch McConnell, the Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell, did indicate that individuals, that the stimulus payments, the next round of stimulus payments could be distributed to individuals earning less than $40,000. So he did talk about that. Now, keep in mind, the White House has not confirmed any figures. This still needs to be passed by the House, and this still needs to be approved by the Senate and signed into law by the President. But these are important early indications of what is likely to happen going forward, because I've often realized in my life with all of my successes in business that the most significant breakthroughs, the most significant comments come in a matter of fact way, in a casual way. You could be in a party, you could be in a get together, and there could be somebody standing and boasting about all these things, but there could be that one guy standing in the corner that says one thing that's going to change the game, and that's basically what's going on here. I believe the US Treasury Secretary, I believe we should listen to his words very, very carefully, and I do believe we should listen to the words of Larry Kudlow very, very carefully as reported. And this is not being picked up by the major news channels simply because it's not they don't like to report what could be good news, what could be encouraging news. They like to report the numbers, and they like to report all this controversial stuff. I'm trying to report something that's relevant, something that's significant to my viewers, to my followers. So please subscribe to my channel if you haven't subscribed to my channel already. And please consider clicking the like button if you learn something new. So Kudlow did say, like I said, that another stimulus package could include unemployment benefits. And as you know, the Democrats have been pushing extending the $600 unemployment benefit, but Republicans are concerned that it discourages individuals and it prevents them from wanting to work, from having to work. So that's what the Republicans are concerned about. And they have said that a lot of individuals are being paid more with the benefit than they had been when they were working. So that's a concern, and I've released many videos on my channel where I've talked about the back to work bonus, where I've talked about Republicans being concerned that individuals were being incentivized to not want to go to work, and the US Treasury Secretary Steven Mnuchin also said that. Again, I'll link you to that in the video description here. Now, let's be clear, even though President Trump has specifically said that he wants an additional stimulus, in fact he even said, I want a larger stimulus than the Democrats, it seems that based on what Larry Kudlow said, that's not going to happen. Based on what Larry Kudlow said, it seems that there are going to be smaller stimulus checks to individuals who have been impacted the most, and the number could be individuals who've made less than $40,000 a year. I say could be because that was thrown out by the Senate Majority Leader, but we don't know yet. Now keep in mind, the Senate is currently on break and is scheduled to return on the 20th of July. The Trump administration and other lawmakers are expected to engage in discussions. The House and the Senate will engage in discussions and then produce a bill for the president to sign, presumably after that time. I would expect something to happen towards the end of this month. I would expect something to happen before the unemployment benefits run out in the last week of July, because I know that people are going to get very anxious and people are going to get extremely agitated during that time, and I understand that. That makes a lot of sense. Now, keep in mind, again, at the end of July, the extra $600 per week federal booster is scheduled to expire, and White House officials and Republicans have indicated, in fact, the US Labor Secretary Eugene Scalia, I did cover this in another video as well, specifically said that he did not believe that there was a need to extend the $600 a week unemployment bonus. And the US, that was the US Labor Secretary Eugene Scalia, excuse me. The US Treasury Secretary Steven Mnuchin also said that he said that there would be a fix to the unemployment benefits. Again, I'm going to link to that in the video here as well. He said there would be a fix to unemployment benefits, so individuals would not get more. And he said it's safe to assume that they would not get more than 100% of their wages. In other words, if you were making $4,000 a month before the pandemic, you would not get more than $4,000 with unemployment benefits, which seems on its face like a reasonable fix. I mean, that's a reasonable thing, because there was a glitch in the system, according to the Republicans, where individuals made more on unemployment. So again, I'm just reporting what the Republicans and the Democrats are saying, just so that you know. So what does all this mean at the end of the day? We'll have to wait and see. As usual, the Democrats and the Republicans don't agree. On Thursday, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi said in a press conference she's skeptical of sending stimulus payments to people who earn less than $40,000, and her exact words were, I think families making over $40,000 probably need assistance, again, depending on their family situation. I'm not exactly sure what that means, but we'll have to wait and see. Thank you so much for watching. If you learned something new from this video, please click the like button. If you're not a subscriber yet, please consider subscribing below, and also please enable notifications so you get instant updates going forward. Thank you so much. I'll see you in the next video. Appreciate you. Bye.